Hello everybody, it's Siona from Honouring ME Crochet and the Hooked on Crochet Club, and we're here in the Crochet Learning Corner to have lesson 5 of our beginner course. Tonight we're going to make a simple coaster, which I've made most of one here so I can show the finishing of. And this one is designed to teach us working in rows while reading a pattern as well. So it's quite a basic pattern. So I'll wait just a little bit and see who joins, so I don't rush ahead of anyone. So I see some of you have made a granny square, which is very good to see. Keep at it. It's one of the first things most people learn when they crochet. And I know I find it. I've been making them every morning and find them quite soothing to make. So in the group I've posted the pattern, which I've written this one from my Tetris blanket. So if you've got a kid or someone that's into Tetris, then you can use this square for those. My eldest son is into Tetris, so he's got that blanket. Alright, so I'll get started. So the pattern we've got is the simple coaster. So the stitches we need, as we can see, most of them will be half double crochet. Excuse my printer being all scratchy, but that's the symbol that you'll see if you're using a chart, and you've got single crochet, which is the cross, and the chain, which is the circle. This pattern is all written in words, so I'm going to use the US terms. So if we're using the UK terms, we'll be mostly using double crochet, half treble, and the chain. So we're going to begin, as you can see. So there's no special stitches, it's all your basic stitches which you've learnt in lessons in the first week. So if we see to begin, we're going to chain 16. So we need to start with our slip knot, which you should also have learnt by now, hopefully. We're going to insert our hook. I don't know where my normal fancy hook is. I picked it up and I don't know where I put it. But anyway, this is the same size. So we need to chain 16. So we need to learn to count while we chain. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So if you wanted to count them, you can count the bumps. So if you hold it sideways, you can see the little bumps on top, or you can count the V's. If I bring it a bit closer, you can count the V's on the stitch, on the hook. Now when I work into them, it doesn't matter where you do so much for this one because you're going to add a border. I, out of habit, always work into the bump. So if we read row 1, it says starting from the second chain from the hook, work 1 half double crochet into each chain. So you're going to have 15 half double crochet at the end. Okay, so the brackets, which you'll see this quite often in a pattern, if stitch count matters, then they'll put the count in brackets at the end. So if we have a look at our chain, you can count either from the V, but I'm going to work into the bump. So if we look, there's the first bump, so there's the second bump. So that's the bump I'm going to work into. So I'm going to yarn over, I'm going to insert my hook into that bump. And you see I kind of use my nail to sort of add some resistance. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way along. Just work into that bump. So you don't want it to be too tight. If you do struggle with making your chain too tight, you can always do the chain in a slightly bigger hook. So this is a 4mm hook, so you could use a 4.5 or a 5, and that would make it loose enough for you to work into. Sorry, so I'll continue working those chains. At the end we'll count them. You can count as you go so you know where you're up to. Oop. And I didn't, so I'll have to count at the end. Okay, so this is pretty much like making a practice swatch, except we're just making into something a little bit useful, which is our coaster. sorry, I just need to loosen my yarn a bit. Okay, almost there. 4 more. Okay, oops, splitting my yarn. You can see I've got 2 more bumps left. See those? Okay. So we'll double check that we've got 15. So it's probably easiest to count the posts. So if we look closely, where have we got? We're not going to count that chain. Let's see. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Where am I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and then that's the 15. So sometimes it's easier to count back from the hook. All right, so if we look at our pattern, we've got our 15 half double crochet. Now we're going to do a chain 1 and turn. Okay, so chain 1 and turn. All right, so then for row 2, we're going to work from the first stitch and we're going to do 1 half double crochet into each stitch, and we're going to end up with 15 again. Okay, so if you look closest to your hook, just get that into focus. So there's the first one. So we're going to work into that. So that's 1, and we're just going to keep working all the way along. So I did put pictures last week to show exactly where to work into. We want to make sure we get both loops. We're just going to work all the way. Oop. So you can see it curls up. That's okay because it'll flatten out. And I'm using 100% cotton here. I think they work nicer for a coaster. I have made some with acrylic and I find they tend to not wear as nicely, not sit as nicely. And cotton holds the heat if you've got like a hot coffee or something on it. So I always make my coasters now in cotton. Okay, so I'm nearing the end, and I just want to show you as well. You got to be very careful at the end because the last stitch tends to hide away. So if we look at that, sorry, we've got one more. So if we're new, that could look like it's the end because it looks fairly straight, but if I was to count those, we would only have 14. You can see this last stitch kind of falls down. So you want to make sure that you catch that one as well. So it kind of falls to the side, but if you just make sure you get that one. Otherwise what you're going to find is that you'll slowly wear away and then you'll end up with it on an angle on looking thinner, tapering up. Okay, so that was the end of row 2. So we've got 15, so we're going to do a chain 1 and turn again. Okay, and then from row 3 to row 12, we're just going to do a repeat of row 2. So I'll just show you to start with. I won't show you all the rows because I did make one beforehand, so I can show you how to finish. You don't have to sit and watch me make the same thing over and over. So essentially just would keep doing that until we end up with more and more rows. So I'll just switch now. Oop. So this one's one that I've done to row 12 and I've got the big loop there. So if we want to count the rows, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you can kind of see you've got to, you get used to seeing them. But every second row looks the same. You've got that band at the top. If I turned it the other way, then that band's there. Okay, so we're now, for this one, we're up to row 13. So for this it says work 1 single crochet into each stitch around, ensuring 15 single crochet on each side, and work 3 into the corners. All right, so for this is the top. So this is where I was working the rows. So these ones are considered the sides, and you can see they're fairly even because we've done the chain 1 to make it straight on the edge. But you can see it's not as straight as the top and the bottom. And you can see because I've got the bottom, we've got the stitches to work into, so it's going to be much easier to make sure we get the right number of stitches. And that's the other end. But on our sides, we've kind of got to guess where we're working, and it's a lot done by feel and just trying to work evenly. So I'm going to work down the side first. So I'm going to start with a chain 1, because as you know, we repeated row 2 up to the end of row 12, and row 2 finished with a chain 1 and turn. So I'll do that chain 1. So the turn, I'm going to turn, so I'm going to work down the side. So this is what you would do for a border. And for most borders, I would do a base border of single crochet just because it gives a nice even edge to then work a more fancy border into. And this is the only border we're going to do for these as well. All right, so we're going to start. Each corner needs to have 3 single crochet into it, but I'm going to do just the 1 here to start with, because I'll do more when we come back. And there's no real right or wrong way to do this. So when you're working down the sides, you're not going to have the nice V's or anything to work into. So you're going to be working around wherever your hook will fit, but sort of the edge of the post. So some rows you've got the chain 2, or chain 1, sorry, you can work into. But what you need to think is you've got 12 rows and you want to aim to get 15 stitches. So you need to do a little bit more than 1 per row. If you get less, it doesn't matter so much for this one because it's a coaster. When I first wrote this, it was to be joined together, so it was important to get all even sides. All right, so this single crochet is the easier one. So we're just going to work away. Now some of them will be a little bit trickier than others. So that's 2. I'm going to work there. 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm almost halfway, so that means like I'm a fairly good number where I'm up to. 7, 8, 9, just wherever the hook fits. So I'm going to get another 5 in there. 10, 11, I might do that one there, 12, 13, so I've got 14, I'll make 15 into the end, and I want to have 3 into that corner. So that's the one. You sort of do 1, so you got 1 for the side, 1 for the angle of the corner, and then 1 for the new row, if you want to think of it that way. Now this row's a bit easier because I've got the stitches to work into, though being this will be the chain. But you can see we've got now a nice straight edge on that first side compared to that side that's still a bit messy. So now we just do 1 into each of these V's, and being the chain, like I said, it will be a little bit tougher than working into the top of a stitch. So bear with me. So doing the rows is probably the easy part. Yeah, working into this chain is always the tricky part. And again, if you used a bigger hook, or if you worked into the V instead of the bump, it would have been easier as well. But I like to make things hard for myself, apparently, because I do this every time. Okay, and you can see I use my finger as kind of resistance to work the hook through too. Push it through. A lot of this is done by feel. Where are we going? Okay. the border. And we'll have a nice neat coaster by the time we get through this. So you can see why I said it was good to get comfortable with all the stitches before you start attacking patterns or trying them, because half the battle sometimes is the stitch themselves. Okay, so that's near the end. All right, so we need to work 3 into that corner, so we'll count that as 1. Now we'll work 2, and you can see this is where the tail is as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crochet that tail in. 3. Okay, so now we've got 2 sides done, so it's looking neat on 2 sides. So we're going to turn to go down the next side, and again it's like the other side, just put your hook where you can and aim to get the 15 stitches. So we'll count the first one from the corner, so that's 2 now. 3. You can see I'm just holding that tail to the top towards the back a little bit and just crocheting over that as I go, so I don't have to weave it in later. Now, too much talking, I didn't count. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's see. Wherever it fits. So you're kind of working around the post of the stitch or the chain one, whatever fits. Some double crochets are a little bit easier to work into for a border because you got more post. Yeah, I've lost count again. Talk too much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 11, 12. We're going to end up short on this one, and that's okay. It'll still work. See, there's lots of fudging you can do in crochet, and it's all okay. So we got close. We got 14. I can work into that corner. So now we're on that end. There we go. So I want 3 in that one. 1, 2, 3, and that's just so that we don't pull on our corner. So you can see it ends up being nice and even, not pulling in any direction. And this is our last row of the border. Okay, so this one's the easiest one because we've got the actual stitch to work into. So we can just go straight across. See, it's like your veggies. Leave the best till last, eat the ones you don't like first. Okay. I didn't bring a needle in. You can see now we're almost there. We've got a nice neat little coaster, just a basic one. But you can whip these up for end of year teacher gifts, make a little set of 4, 2 or however many. Okay, so this one we had to work extra in because we didn't do it at the start. So just to get our corner neat. Okay, so work the one. And then just to finish, where it says fasten off, so I always finish with fasten off. That just means slip stitch to the first stitch you did. Pull that through. And that's it. So you can now cut your yarn. Did I bring my scissors? No. Excuse me. Okay. So that's little coaster. You can use that for anything. So I'd sew that end in like I did for the granny stitch in the previous lesson. You can snip that. That was the tail I wove in, so I can snip that. There you go. We have one simple coaster. So there's the start. All right, so I'll make a post again in the group. So if you end up making a coaster, I'd love to see it. If you got any questions, anything that wasn't quite clear, then just feel free to add your comments and let me know. There we go. All right, and tomorrow night we're going to learn a simple zigzag. So, and colour oh no, that's the next one. Yeah, tomorrow's just creating a zigzag, so we'll do that. I'll show you a simple way to make one of those. All right, So go away and do some practice, read the pattern, do it the best you can. Come back and pause the video if you need to, rewind, all the rest. Okay, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you.